Hi, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining me to talk about the fear of visibility. This is based on a conversation I had last night with Dr. Kamani of Lifting As We Climb Consulting and Rushni Cope of Glamazzini on YouTube. But we had a really powerful conversation about different ways to build income streams, right? As Black women, as we see what we're experiencing in the workplace, being pushed out, being forced out of these jobs that we were told were supposed to be stable, right? And having to generate income in different ways. And me having a community called Black Women Freelancers, which if you haven't joined, let me put the link in the chat if you would like to join us. We have our accountability call coming up today, 6 p.m. Eastern. I'll put that in the chat if you are interested in joining us over there. But one of the things that we experience, right, as Black women in particular, is the fear of visibility. So I just wanted to have like an impromptu chat, sharing information, maybe a little bit of my own experience of being seen, which is actually like very necessary as an entrepreneur, as a freelancer, building a business, to be able to be seen, right? To put yourself in front of people, in front of your audience. And I'm also co-hosting a masterclass with Glamazzini, Rushni Cope, coming up September 13th, 12 p.m. Eastern, if you like to register. It's scrolling on the screen, and I'll also put it in the chat. From passion to profit. But yeah, this is something we experience so often, the fear of being seen. And it can elicit these really deep responses in our nervous systems, right? Which as a healing practitioner, I'm always aware of. How is my nervous system responding to me being seen, right? Being visible in this way. And sometimes it can take time to get to that point where you feel comfortable sharing your story, right? In the way that you want to, you feel comfortable to, and just really kind of opening up, right? One of the things in these environments that we're in, we have to be closed off so often to protect ourselves, to survive, right? So it doesn't come out of nowhere. And also there shouldn't be any shame attached to it, right? Why can't I get through this barrier that keeps coming up? I'm scared of people seeing what I'm doing. What if they talk about me, right? What if they say that I'm not where I'm supposed to be, right? All these different messages that come up, probably because people have said them to you before, right? Or you heard someone say them about someone else, and then you've internalized those messages. And so that is the purpose of this chat today. If you're here live, let me know. I'm trying this new feature on StreamYard where I can see the comments like on the screen too. So yeah, let me know. If you're joining here live, thank you so much. If you're watching the replay, please like this video on the YouTube, subscribe, comment if anything resonates. Always appreciative to see y'all here. Marissa, thank you for joining. Enough by M&T. Yes. Thank you so much for being here. And we actually I was just looking at our past video. So I had a conversation with Marissa T, who is an artist, about visibility, right? The fear of being seen, of putting your things out there into the world. And that's on my YouTube channel if you'd like to check that out. Let me actually get the link to that because that was a really good conversation. Let me get the link to that. Give me 1 second. And we actually talked through a lot of these same topics that I'll be talking about today. So that is our conversation. And when this is over, I'll put it in the description if you're watching the replay too. But if you are someone who fears being seen, first of all, know that you're not alone. I think anyone who is especially on the internet, right, as a Black woman, we know some of the comments that we receive, some of the backlash we receive to the things that we bring to light as truth tellers so often. And so this is not always an easy process to undertake. So just want to say that. But the ideas, the visions that you have, they're really meant to be shared with the world, right? So when you get to that, yeah, Things I may have to rewatch because this is a reoccurring fear for me. Yeah, it's so deep. It's so deep, right? Yeah, and it can touch on so many different things. I know for me, like along this journey of becoming a freelancer, having to put myself out there, having to go live, right? Tell people what I do. It has been an exercise, like a stretch growth exercise to just show up authentically because so often in these environments, right? Academic environments, workplace environments, we have to mask to stay safe. And so it makes sense that when you're trying to show up authentically, it feels like you feel that barrier, right? How do I even do this? First of all, how do I know who I am? Which Glenn Mazzini has an incredible workbook on her channel called Who Am I? If you want to download that, let me link to her channel. Incredible. And I think it's in her description of her YouTube videos, and that is her channel. But it's so important to first identify like who you are and then who you want to show up, right, to the world as, which is like this huge thing. But I found if you kind of give yourself grace, compassion, patience along this journey, like slowly but surely, you'll start to feel more like you and you'll be able to like open up more authentically. So it absolutely is a journey. And if you feel some of those feelings of fear, right? How am I ever going to show up authentically? How am I ever going to get over this fear of being seen, of being visible? Know that it takes time, right? And part of that is being in safe community too. So if you want to practice with us, Black women freelancers, join us over there. We have weekly accountability sessions as we are in the process of understanding what it means to be a freelancer, offering our skills, our services in exchange for income, right? That's really the basics of it. But starting and launching a business and allowing yourself to be seen, even if you're not starting or launching a business, if you're sharing your story, which we talked about, that can be so scary when you are used to being in environments where people have criticized you, people have thrown insults at you, and then having to move through that, right? And basically rewire your brain, which is what you're doing. Resetting, regulating your nervous system, moving through that discomfort to get to where you want to be, that's a process. And so if you are experiencing this fear of visibility, what if I put this out there and everyone makes fun of me, right? As someone who has been bullied, that's something that has come up for me so often. And I've had to remind myself, right, I survived that, right? Kudos to little me for surviving being bullied for all those years. And I'm taking that as kind of compost is coming up to then create what I want to release in the world as an adult, right? And even telling yourself your own track record. Where have you gone through difficult moments before and come out on top, right? Come out victorious. A lot of this is like rooted in fear, right? What happens if I put this out there? And sometimes the best exercise can be just to put it out there and see, right? To get into a safe community where people can give you feedback, can encourage you along this journey. But ultimately, the thing sometimes is just to put it out there, right? See who it resonates with. See the comments. So many of the comments that you all have given me on YouTube in particular have fueled me to continue this journey when I have felt that fear, right? Where I want to go back into hiding, especially as an introvert doing this. It's not always easy. But when you put yourself, your offerings, right, your services out into the world, something like happens as kind of, I don't know, it can't really be explained, but the people who resonate with what you're sharing, if you're sharing it from an authentic place, it's going to resonate. And you're going to receive that feedback that lets you know that you're not alone, whatever you're navigating. And it does something, right, for the healing journey. When you see so much of what we experience is isolation is a huge part of that. And so when you are at the stage where you can tell yourself, I'm not the only one experiencing this, clearly this is a pattern, right? Other people have navigated it, have gone through it, have overcome. that does something that like refuels, right? Your power reminds you of the power that you have in this situation. Good afternoon, Lorana. Please let me know if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly. Thank you. Thank you. This is so on time for me. Yes, I love that. Thank you. Thank you for this feedback. Yes, right. So just taking a breath here. If you've ever felt afraid of being seen online, at work, or even in your own family, that's a whole other topic. The messages that we receive from our family members that seed a lot of these feelings of self doubt, the fear of being seen, of being visible, again, because somebody tried to call us out, especially as sensitive people, right, who feel things very deeply. Those comments sting and they can sit with us for a long time. So know that you're not alone. This is a conversation really about why that fear exists, how we can hold it with compassion, grace, gentleness with ourselves, and begin to move through it. That's important to realize that you do have the power to move through it. Even though it feels like you can't sometimes, even though it feels like a barrier, if you just stay with the process and allow it to evolve, you will get to where you're supposed to be, right? So visibility is not just about showing up on social media. For many of us, being visible has been dangerous. As Black women, our visibility has been scrutinized, punished, or erased, right? We've often been told that we're too much, too ambitious, we take up too much space, we're too confident, right? Or on the flip side, completely invisible. So that thing between being hyper visible and then invisible as a Black woman in these different environments that we find ourselves in is very important to realize. In our families, some of us learn to shrink, to play small, or to silence our needs so that we'd stay safe. So invisibility feels scary. It's not because anything is wrong with you. It's because your body and nervous system are trying to protect you, right? So that fear that you're experiencing is a survival strategy. And that's important to remember. So nothing is wrong with you, right? Your body's recalling something where you've been in a similar environment where you've tried to be visible, you've tried to be seen. And that was met with what we just covered, right? The scrutiny, the insults, trying to push you out, trying to make fun of you, trying to bully you. So these things are very real. They're rooted in reality. And so some practices for telling your body that you're safe can be naming and notice what you're feeling, grounding and anchoring yourself in the present moment, and then asking yourself what would make this safer right now. Right? Turning off the camera, maybe journaling before you share. It's not about pushing through, as we're told that we have to do, but it's about giving your body a felt sense of safety in small increments as you're moving through this process. So steps towards compassionate visibility can be private visibility, as I mentioned. Journaling to yourself can be helpful. Working through this with yourself, recording a voice note, getting into a private community like mine, Black Women Freelancers, where we practice in a safe community where we share our offers, we share potential products that we're working on, services, and then we get that loving feedback versus the harsh criticism that we're used to so often, which can happen on social media, right? And so once you've kind of built up that muscle of being in a private, supportive community, thanks to The Garden, created by Alicia Renice, which is where I really began to release some of these initial ideas that I had into the world, right? My book, Cocoon, was formed in that space. And it just speaks to the power of being able to practice in a safe space with other Black women. We're sharing what we're going through. We're sharing the ups and downs. We're sharing our ideas. And we know, right, there's proof that when we share, we receive loving feedback from each other. We receive encouragement. We receive validation versus the harsh treatment, right? The words, the trolls on social media. Thankfully, you can just press block, right? And that's like the difference between social media and real life. Like you can't really, well, yeah, you can. because I've had to do that a few times. You can block people in real life, but it's so much easier on social media, right? Block. You don't get to be a part of this space anymore because you've already demonstrated that you don't value, you don't appreciate, you don't see this space as sacred. And so that's your option, right? You have the authority to block people if you experience some of these things that I'm talking about on social media. But it's important to be able to practice in a safe space first, where you can get that feedback that's rooted in love, that's rooted in your encouragement, where we can share our experiences freely with each other. Sometimes before we put our offerings out on social media, because especially today, right? These days, social media is like, ugh. I've been thinking about like really peeling back from social media because it has just been the things we're seeing, specifically like levied at Black women, right? Um, yeah, it's been a lot. It's been a lot. So if you're experiencing this, know that you're not alone. Hey, Kiki. Yes, Rich Rising, my fellow sisters, excited to be here with y'all today for this topic. Yes, thank you so much for joining. Yes, what would make this feel safer right now? Great journaling question. Thank you. You're so welcome, Marissa. Yeah, just that question. What would make this feel safer right now? And just sitting with that. And knowing that you have the power to change your environment, right? If it doesn't feel safe right now, posting on social media, um, can you connect with people in person? Can you get into a private community to share what you're working on? Those are important questions to ask, right? So if it doesn't feel safe, not feeling like you have to push yourself through anything, just allow it to evolve in seeking out other ways to do what you're trying to do, right? Becoming visible in smaller ways and then working up to the bigger goal that you have can be helpful. Yeah. Thank you. I love the Black women business community. Thank you for creating that space. I'm too sensitive for social media, so it's nice to have that space. Thank you for this feedback. Yeah, I get this. Yeah. Um, yeah, social media has been oof, triggering. Triggering. I have been thinking about taking like a break, like weeks, maybe even months break from social media because it's just been a lot, right? And speaking of that, I do soft launch. I did create a Patreon. If you'd like to join me over there, um, I haven't like announced this in a post or anything, but that is the link, and it's free to join. And also, there are priced tiers if you'd like to support the channel and my community. Um, but it's really, I think it was Khadijah online. I think her name is Khadijah Mbawi, and I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. But she just did a video saying that she's leaving YouTube, right? And she's moving exclusively to Patreon because of the different things that are happening on YouTube, specifically when it comes to Black women creators. And I've been thinking about that too, right? We're pouring so much energy, so much time doing these videos is not easy. There are so many things you have to do behind the scenes. It's it's a lot. It can feel like an entire job just doing this on YouTube, and then to see there's not really a lot of reward in exchange for that. The community is one of the rewards, but on the platform of YouTube, we're not really being compensated for our labor adequately. And so having to ask that question, like, is this sustainable, right? To be on YouTube. YouTube has provided me with so many opportunities to connect with fellow creators, so many lovely people, right? But it's also sometimes it feels exploited too because you're not receiving that adequate exchange for the labor that you put into this channel, the content that you create. YouTube suppresses our content so often as Black women. And so that's real. That's real. And so something I've been thinking about. Yeah. Thank you, Marissa. I appreciate you. Thank you. Yes, yes, it's in its baby stage. I've just been like playing behind the scenes, seeing what it looks like, seeing playing with the different features. But yeah, if you'd like to join me over there, I'm thinking about hosting a book, some type of book, monthly book meeting, because I love to read. And I know that as I've been sharing that, I've been connecting with fellow bookworms on my channel. So, hello, if that's you, sharing different book recommendations, um, to just kind of like go deeper into the practice of liberation. I think it's so important to incorporate works from past people who have seen through the things that we're experiencing, have navigated that, shared strategies. Truth is so important, especially during this time. So I'm thinking it's going to be like a book club space over on Patreon. So that's the link to join if you'd like to support me over there. Yeah, but be on the lookout. Things I'm thinking about. Yeah, as I'm thinking about like the different things around visibility, going back to the topic, what platforms do I want to be visible on? Which platforms feel safe for me to contribute my sacred energy? And I'll be talking with Winsome about this tomorrow, actually, at 7 p.m. Eastern. Let me put the link in the chat. Do I have it? Give me 1 second. There it is. Yeah, the revolution is spiritual. I'll be talking with Winsome about this tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern. Hi, Tasha. Good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Yes. Kiki says, do what you have to do to preserve yourself for however long you need. The work will be there, but there's only one you. I appreciate this. Okay, I'm going to go back and screenshot this. Thank you for this, Kiki. I appreciate this. Yeah. Yeah. That's so important. Self preservation, right? Over any of these platforms that can come and go, that change different features every single day. And as someone who's trying to ultimately like build my healing practice, that is my long-term vision, for my career. It can be like, is this worth it? Right? Pouring so much energy, time, navigating the fear of visibility every single time I go live. It's real. To what end? And is this the right platform to be sharing my energy, my content, the truth? All questions that I'm sitting with. So I appreciate this. Yeah, I love it. Community here. Thank y'all. Yes. And so, yeah, tomorrow I'll be speaking with Winsome. She has a new book out called This Time the Revolution is Spiritual. So we'll be talking about reclaiming our spiritual power as Black women, which is so important, right? This society, these systems try to convince us that we're not powerful, try to literally extract the immense power that we hold inside of ourselves, so that we feel like we don't have anything. Sometimes it feels like empty inside. I know that I felt that way many times. And so just reawakening to the fact that we have so many spiritual gifts to lean into. I'm excited for that conversation tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern, on my channel if you'd like to join us. Yeah, let me get back to my notes. So low stake sharing, like I said, telling a trusted friend or sharing in a healing group can be helpful. Selective vulnerability. This goes back to the training program I'm in, to become a facilitator for basically a program to eliminate stigma around mental health issues, right? But knowing that you can be selective in who you're vulnerable with, sharing lessons that you've learned, maybe not open wounds if you haven't processed them yet. And then purposeful visibility, when you feel ready, connecting your story to the service that you offer, to the women you want to reach, to the life you want to create, right? Once you get to that level. But taking your time to get there is so important. And remembering your story is medicine. Every time you show up and practice visibility, because it is a practice, even in small ways, you give someone else permission to do the same. And that's how we grow, right? Collectively. It's a community thing. It's a collaborative effort. Once you feel at that point, at that place to begin to share your services, your offerings, maybe your story, your healing journey, it creates this ripple effect where so many other people are like, I can do the same thing. I can speak about this thing without shame, right? I can show up authentically. I don't have to be in this box that society told me I had to be in. It's like, it's freeing, it's liberating. And that's really the power of when you feel ready to become visible, know that you're freeing so many other people to start sharing their stories, right? We see, especially on YouTube, the community on YouTube that Black women have created, cultivated, right? It just creates more and more channels, right? There never is too many channels to watch. I'm always subscribing to more people. I'm always learning more new things, right? About things that I hadn't even considered. And that's really the power of visibility. When you get to that place, when you've been able to practice in a safe community, you see the ripple effect, right? Once you come out publicly and share your journey and share what you've been through, it really is that powerful. So, yes, I think that's it. I do want to remind y'all I have a masterclass coming up, co hosted with Glam Mazidi, aka Rushniko, from Passion to Profit, that you can register for here. It's happening Saturday, September 13th, 12 p.m. Eastern. The replay will be available. I think I'm back. Well, here's the link to register if you'd like to join us to learn the basics of building a brand online, creating a sales funnel to be able to get your products, services, offerings to your ideal client base. Um, yeah, I think that's it, y'all. I appreciate you being here for sharing what you shared in the chat. And if you're watching the replay, um, if anything resonates, please feel free to comment. I appreciate you being here. Again, I'll be live with Winsome tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern. We'll be talking about the power of spirituality, reclaiming our spiritual power. It has been tried to be stripped from us as Black women, and it's so important to lean in. So yes, I think that's it. Thank y'all for being here. Appreciate you being here. If you're here live, thank you for watching the replay as well. And until next time, y'all, see y'all tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern. Bye. Thank you.